the digital educator. Otherwise, I'm really sorry that you got up early to be here and this isn't what you thought it was. So we have hopefully a productive and useful day planned for you. You are part of the pilot for this particular certification. We'll go over LEC and what that means and what that is in a little bit, and then talk about the specifics of this particular course. And from there, hopefully we will, well, I know we will have most certainly some hands-on time with each of the different elements, each of the different sections that are that make up this particular certification. So welcome to everyone who is also online. We have some people joining us who, let's see, where are they? There they are. Well, there's Lainey. And then along the bottom, so I'm explaining this online people, for the people who are here, they've logged in via Google Hangouts, and so we're going to do a little bit of screen sharing and sort of splitting our awareness, and Lainey and Bert are going to work on really supporting the people who are online mostly, and of course, if they have any questions, then all of a sudden there'll be this voice from above that comes out, and we'll go from there. So let's just start with some introductions. Elizabeth Calhoun, I already said that. I am an academic technology specialist here at Santa Clara County Office of Ed. Used to be a high school English teacher, and then I was a high school assistant principal, and then a middle school assistant principal. While I was doing that, I was going through, I really missed teaching. And so I started teaching teachers as much as I could and doing professional development. Grew a really strong professional learning community through work with Google certified teachers and various other groups. And as a result of that, met Bert, met Ramsey, and so get to see them at conferences and other really neat spaces, and then got this position, which is awesome because I spend all of my days and nights prepping or teaching teachers on how to effectively integrate technology. I've been involved with Leading Edge almost since its beginnings, in the sense that I went through one of the first boot camps for online and blended teacher, and I'll explain sort of the certifications and how those rolled out in a bit, but there are different courses that all fall under Leading Edge. So went through the online and blended teacher, went through the administrator cohort, and helped develop some of the curriculum for digital educator and with Ramsey and Lainey, and now teaching this course. So with that, Ramsey, I'll let you.
I'm Ramsey Musalam. I teach high school chemistry at Sacred Heart Cathedral, San Francisco, and along with Elizabeth, do a lot of professional development for teachers and kind of various.
It's a little bit hard to hear him.
I am Ramsey Musalam, and I teach high school chemistry from Sacramento in San Francisco, and I was the lead curriculum developer for this project, which meant I kind of checked in with everybody and jumped in and helped kind of hone the curriculum to what it is now. So you guys are the pilot group, and hopefully we'll work out some of the kinks. So I ask for your patience as we go through this as well. But I'm really excited about it. It looks pretty good. So
we're also going to be asking you guys for your feedback as we go through the curriculum itself. Since it is the pilot group, as is with everything, like Ramsey said, there's going to be some hiccups. There's going to be, and we've worked through as much as we can, but there's nothing like using an actual test group. And so hopefully, we'll send out sort of regular requests for feedback about particular modules, and we're probably the most open set of teachers that you've ever experienced, in terms of, yes, tell us everything that you think should be adjusted, in whatever ways you think are constructive. And as you know, because you're teachers, just saying, well, I really didn't like that activity isn't terribly helpful. But if you could give us some ideas about what you think would be more useful for you as a practicing educator, then that would be awesome. Okay. And then Bert, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Bert Lowe. I'll be tech support for the day. So if you have any questions, we can have, and I'm trying to get online.
Can't hear him at all.
Okay, he's Bert. He's tech support. He's going to be helping you on your guys' end, trying to get people online.
And just remind people who are online to make sure the chat window is on the right-hand side.
And for the people online, please make sure that the chat window is on the right-hand side of your Hangout window. The way you access that is by clicking on the word chat on the left-hand side of your window, and then the chat box will pop up on the right side of the window. So please make sure that you have that open so that you can have a back-channel conversation. Okay, so Lainey, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hopefully you guys can hear me from the Starbucks I'm currently located at. My name is Lainey Rowell, and I'm the Leading Edge Certification Coordinator. So I oversee all of our certifications, which I believe Elizabeth is going to explain what some of the other certifications are in just a moment. So I'm going to be remoting in with those others who are remoting in, and I'll have chat open to answer any questions, and I can be in communication with Bert if anything needs to be addressed. So thank you all for being here, and we really appreciate you joining us in the pilot.
Thank you. So one of the add-ons or benefits of using Google Hangouts is that it's recording right now. And so everything that's being said and all the stuff that we go through will automatically be uploaded to YouTube when we're done. And so I will add that into our course site so that at the end, if you're like, oh, I missed that or this or whatever it is, you can go back and reference it. Now, granted, we've got, 4 hours worth of information. So you might want to take note if you know you missed something, be like, oh, I missed something at about 1 o'clock. So then at least you can fast forward the YouTube video. Okay, so if you haven't already done so, please make sure that you are logged into the Canvas site when you sat down at your computers. For those of you who are here, the Canvas site was already open. I want you to make sure that you log in. Is there anybody who's having trouble logging in yet? And what I'd like to see is that you're, at least on this particular site, because I'm going to take you through a series of slides that are embedded in this. In fact, why don't we, while people, because there's still a few people who are still logging in, why don't we go around and I'd like for you guys to introduce yourselves. We'll start with the people who are here, give the people who are online a little more wiggle room time to get situated there. And if you could tell me your name, where you're from, what you teach, and kind of how'd you hear about this, or why are you here? One or the other, whichever you prefer. Do you want to go ahead?
Sure. Hi, good morning. My name is Miran Bunyaget. I'm a first grade teacher at Sacred Heart Schools in Atherton, which is near Palo Alto. And our school's really blessed with a lot of technology. In my classroom, we have iPads, desktops, smartboard. So the last 3 years that I've been at the school site, I was one of the teachers that piloted trying out iPads in the lower school classrooms. So I've just been going on to a lot of conferences and just really ended up getting this passion to use technology and integrate it in the classroom. So I think I saw this opportunity when I went to, I guess the last one was at the Q conference in Harker. So I saw this and thought this would be a great next step for me professionally and see what I can bring into our school.
Great. Thank you.
My name is Eric Hartung. I teach at Preston Academy in Los Angeles. I am combination middle school science teacher for 7th and 8th grade. Science department chair for the middle school and elementary school. We have an Apple one-to-one program with iPads in the middle school. And I kind of am the de facto tech coordinator for the middle school. Meaning I probably know the most, and therefore I'm the one everybody goes to.
It's to use a phrase that Lainey uses often. It sounds like you were voluntold.
Yes.
You were voluntold, right?
Yes. We actually are looking for an education technologist, which will hopefully take stuff off my lap.
Sure.
But now as time goes on, it sounds more and more like they'll be spending their time with the elementary school.
Of course, because they've got you.
Correct.
Great, thank you. Hi.
Hi, I'm Betty Giesman. I teach in Watsonville, I teach computers for 6th to 8th graders. I've been involved with our county as well as the district with technology for a while to see when I started. So it's really fun to help see that things are starting to move forward, where we're seeing a lot more things, more resources for teachers, as well as students, and of course the new Common Core standard. It's wonderful to get moving. We have technology. It's not big time, but we do have just got passed a new Measure L that's going to give more funding for our district to purchase more things for our schools. So,
Right.
Thank you.
I'm Harmony Ava, teach 6th grade, language arts and social studies in East Palo Alto. And I learned about this from the SBQ conference in March. And I've kind of been on the leading edge of technology in my district. And recently they brought laptops into all of the middle schools, well, all of my middle school classrooms. And we're also looking at getting iPads. So I want to learn how to best use it.
Right. Sure. It's fair enough.
I'm Leah G. Tremble. I've taught 4th grade the last 8 years, and last year did a pilot program with iPads, and so this year I'm a teacher on special assignment, helping just with the iPad integration in 26 different classrooms. So we're just an elementary school district in San Diego, Long Beach, and so my job this year is to really support the teacher, so kind of just building my capacity as much as possible.
Great. Thank you. Welcome.
I'm Alison Smith, also from East Palo Alto, different schools. So I'm 5th grade, and I know that once middle school gets all of their technology, it's going to kind of start trickling down to 5th grade and start getting and I've also been doing a lot of the technology in my school.
Mm-hmm.
Going to a lot of different schools. Diana Kenny, I'm from Alameda, just down the road. I teach high school, and I teach a digital life class.
Can you speak louder? Yeah.
I teach a digital life class in high school, and we are turning our high school's going 6-12 next year. And I'm doing professional development for our teachers in our district. I used to work at district office, but then with budget cuts, they cut that, which is lucky because I love my first job. So I'm here. I learned about this at Q as well, and I thought this would be a great opportunity.
Great.
I'm Jen Petrolia. I teach at a middle college. It's a dual enrollment program in Redwood City. So I have high school students on the community college campus. And ironically, the community college has no technology at all. So yeah, I'm here to learn. I found out about it on Twitter somehow.
Great. Okay, thank you.
I'm Rachel Lassick. I teach up in Sonoma County in the Russian River area at a high school. I'm the mathematics department chair and also the French department chair. And we have almost zero technology on our campus. We have pretty much 30, brand new in the last 2 years, 30 computers for our high school. And I was part of the PAC-10 UC Davis, and so we grant, and so we actually got 12 iPads, which 3 teachers are sharing, including myself. But I actually saw Ramsey in the e-learning strategy symposium in Costa Mesa in December, and that kind of went. I realized that we're not doing our students a service, and it was more for myself and what I could do in my classroom, and so now I've kind of become the go-to person.
Sure.
To start changing the atmosphere on our campus.
Great. It's exciting. It's challenging,
yes.
But it's exciting. So hopefully part of what we create here is at the very least an online community of people from all across the state where you can rely on one another and go, you know, are you struggling with this? Because the one common theme, I'm sure you guys have already picked it up, is that you're like, well, I'm, you know, kind of the lone nut, or I'm the lone, you know, there's me and like 4 other people, and we're the ones who are voluntold, or we're the ones who, you know, are leading the charge in some way. And I got to make sure that what I'm leading people to is sound and, you know, has more than just my gut instinct, which my gut instinct may be good, but I have to have something more than that to influence other people. So, great. Thank you. Hi.
Hi, I'm Bev Bondi. I'm from Pacific Coast Charter School in Watsonville, and I teach both middle school and high school. It's independent study, and I teach high school independent study and science and middle school science. And I'm also the tech liaison for our school. So I learned about this because I did the Leading Edge online and
blended teacher. Great.
Year.
Right. So, welcome.
I'm Jeff Bellow. I am currently at Solano County Office of Ed. I'm an instructional technology person. I left the classroom just over a year ago and found out about this. I actually finished the LEC admin class last Saturday. In my
well done.
Turned in my portfolio, so it's hopefully going up the approval process. But part of what my role is bridging that gap. I'm a teacher. I was a secondary teacher, high school teacher, taught this stuff. It's interesting. I was a business major, and then you become this. This is what you teach in class. You're like, oh, okay, you know. But I did spend some time in elementary school, so I had that piece to it also. Teaching elementary school, not in elementary school.
It's been a really long time.
All of us were in elementary school for 8 years.
Third grade is great.
Actually, I taught 4th grade, and I didn't remember 4th grade. You know, there's those blanks. You're like, here's 4th grade class teacher. You're like, I don't even remember my teacher. I don't even know who Sarah is. I know nothing.
Truly influential year for you.
So anyways, next year it's all about the Common Core and the technology that's all over the Common Core and what the kids already have. I think with my age I would be considered a digital colonist because, you know, we immigrated and we set up shop and all of us are here. It's a term. And so I've got one high school, two high schools, 2 junior high schools, and an elementary school I'm going to be doing this with next year. So for since I don't have kids in front of me to teach lessons to, during this, I've actually already identified a middle school and 3 teachers that are like, yeah, come teach some technology. Like, okay. So it's going to be a grand time doing this because I'll teach them and then we'll show that, you know.
That'll be great, yeah.
So anyways, it'll be fun. I'm a Twitter addict.
Sweet.
Some people may already go, I already know you. Well,
you need to be working on that.
Yeah, my phone has been down. It will come out. Everybody on Twitter, though, when you see me, my face is not my face. It's just a little black and white drawing. But most people realize that when they see me, that, oh, yeah, that is you. So
Louder.
When you find me, you'll see me.
Thank you. Great. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Doris Melman, and I am a 4th grade teacher in Evergreen School District, and I am fortunate enough to teach. Our school has gone project-based learning, so we are really the lone nuts. We call ourselves lone nuts. It's sort of like the continent has broken, and we're off on our own little island there. Technology is a huge part of what we're doing, but we, as probably a lot of people, got a lot of funding. We're Title I, so we got lots of technology.
Okay, I clicked on.
The teachers at our school, their knowledge and how to integrate it successfully is really at the beginning, and our technology is way at the end. So I'm trying to help everybody sort of catch up and use technology where it's really valuable, not just because it's an iPad, but because it really is useful and better served in this particular task. So we're running like full speed.
Great.
It's awesome. I'm really excited.
Good. Thank you.
My name is Christy Frankina. I also teach in Evergreen at a different site from Doris. And at our site, we have a limited amount of technology. We have a couple of computer carts, and we have a computer lab. Each teacher has an iPad, and we've ordered small group sets of iPads for each grade level. But the teachers really don't have an idea of what to do with the iPads and things. So I've been working as the technology coordinator for many years, and they see me as a role model and ask me for advice and things. So I'm trying to educate myself so that I can better educate them.
Great. Thank you. So I'm excited. You excited?
Very much.
Okay, so hopefully everybody is logged into your Canvas account by this point. Is there anyone who's still any technical difficulties? Okay, so what I'd like...
Before you go on, are you going to introduce, did I miss the online introduction?
Oh my God. I did the cardinal sin of online learning. Oh, I love you online people. Okay, so yes, you know what, I was saving you for a really special time, which is exactly at 10:20. Oh look, it's time. Why don't we go ahead and can we start with Joanne? And then I don't know if your faces are in the same order as mine, but I've got Bert, and then me, and then Joanne. So Joanne, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself first off?
Hi, I am Joanne Goldenberg. I'm a 5th grade teacher in Rancho Santa Margarita, California. I don't know what else to tell you. I'm taking this class because I think it'll be great professional development. I enjoyed taking the hybrid LEC class, and so this is going to be fun.
To keep
Great.
from not getting the feedback.
Thank you. Welcome.
But
Yeah, if you are not currently speaking, can you please mute? Only unmute yourself once you start speaking, please. Otherwise, it creates feedback for everyone. Jolene, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself at this point?
Hi, I'm Jolene Berg, and I teach deaf and hard of hearing students in grades 6 through 8. I'm also the Kern Q president currently, and I want to do this not only to broaden my own classroom experience with technology, but to make sure that I am educated for the people I'm serving here in Kern County. So I'm really excited to be part of this pilot.
Great. Thank you so much. Linda, why don't you go next?
Hi, my name's Linda. I teach 2nd grade, and I am so excited that there are some elementary school teachers in this pilot.
Great. Where did you hear about LEC, just out of curiosity? Linda?
She's too short.
Uh-oh.
Linda, where did you hear about LEC?
Hold on. Tell them I'm working on it.
Linda's sitting next to me, and she's working on her sound right now.
Okay, well, you know what? We will come back to Linda then. Marilyn, how about you?
Looks like it's working. Oh, it's on mute.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, wow, okay.
Hopefully everybody is logged into your Canvas account. So go ahead and introduce yourself, where you're from.
I'm not logged in.
Yes, you are.
I hear somebody. Help.
No, you're logged in, Marilyn.
I can hear other people. Okay, I'm Marilyn Miller. I'm down here in LA. I do music, intro computers, and teacher training when I'm working. I'm not teaching this moment. I do not see a chat box, and I'm not logged into Canvas.
Okay, so I think Bert will be able to help you. If you click on chat on the left-hand side of your screen, a chat box should show up on the right-hand side.
Yeah, I see chat. I clicked on it.
Okay.
I clicked on it.
So Bert's gonna try to reach out to you and help you out. Okay.
All right.
He's muting you now. Peggy, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? This is great. I love it.
It's always a challenge with technology. I'm Peggy Walker. I teach at Newbury Park High School in Newbury Park, halfway between LA and Ventura counties, and I teach AP Psych, IB Psych, Research Methods, Mock Trial. I am on the technology committee. I teach Google workshops, and I took the first online that we had available, online LEC. I've been grading portfolios, so my goal is to be able to help relieve the one person that teaches the courses and be able to help teach the courses as well.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, so we are going to carry on, and if you, in your Canvas account, if you could go down to syllabus, what you will see first and foremost is a Google presentation that I'm going to work off of to share some information about Leading Edge. And let's open this bad boy up. window. Okay. So to give you a little bit of an outline, now many of you who heard about Leading Edge through either SVQ or Q or Strategy Symposium, yes. Whoops. I still am sharing my screen share. Yeah, we'll do that. Okay. So then you probably already have this basic information, but we're going to go over it so that we're all kind of on the same line. So about, I believe it was 3-4 years ago, the Leading Edge Alliance was created, and it's made up of a series of organizations nationwide, including Q, Computer Using Educators, as well as CTAP, ETech Ohio, New Mexico Society, and Santa Clara County Office of Ed, as well as other county offices. And all of these organizations came together and decided that there needed to be some sort of certification or means by which teachers could feel like they were in a place where they were learning skills that helped further your educational technology integration. And it wasn't just teachers, but it started with the intention of looking at the different needs of the different groups. So the first rollout of courses was online and blended teachers. So that was a course that was designed for teachers who either were already teaching in an online setting or a blended setting, or wanted to get there. Now, Leading Edge certification is not a credentialing program. It's not, you can earn continuing education credits for it, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but it is, it's a way to have sort of a baseline of this is what is expected, this is what would be expected, and the certifications are revisited on an ongoing basis to make sure that the information is contemporary, because as you know, technology is constantly changing, so it's this feat of, you know, you guys have already expressed this, trying to keep up with or get ahead of, well, here we're trying to create courses and certifications that not only do that, but then also are providing anybody from the innovative educator to sort of the just starting out and I'm kind of interested in technology educator with a set of modules and certifications that are going to be useful. So 2 years ago, online and blended teacher rolled out. Last year, the administrator certification rolled out. And one of the confusions about the administrator certification sometimes is that it's for administrators in an online setting, and it is not. It is for actual physical brick and mortar site administrators who are interested in learning how to integrate technology into their daily practice. And now we have Digital Educator, which is designed for the classroom teacher. So specifically, you know, you're in the classroom, you're working with students on a regular basis, that kind of approach. What the program is not, it is not a Web 2.0 tutorial. It is not a, there's a certain expectation that while we are here for you in terms of troubleshooting your way through different tools, the expectation is that you are moderately good problem solvers, and that if you lose your password to something, you know that you need to click on forgot password question mark.
Reset.
Right? So some of those things that you know that are just sort of expectations. Now, that being said, please, if you forgot your password to something and you're like, I clicked on forgot password and it still doesn't work, and she made that joke about forgot password and now I have to email her about my password, please don't hesitate to still reach out to Ramsey or me if you run into some of those issues. The other thing is I forget what I was going to say. There's something else. If it's important enough, I'll remember it. What the Digital Educator ultimately is designed to do is to create, oh, I know what it was, that for almost all of the activities that you do, there's a series of Web 2.0 tools that you could use to complete that activity or complete that assignment. Specifically because you're going to find the tools that work for you and the ones that don't. And for instance, if you think about the idea of collaboration and collaborative tools, some of you may immediately be drawn to, you think collaborative, you think Google Docs. Others of you may go collaborative, you're going to think Prezi, or you're going to think something else. And so we give you ideas about good tools, but then if there's another tool that you use on a regular basis that you think would really fit the function of that particular activity better than the ones that we've suggested, by all means, suggest it to us, and that's where that, really the two-way communication and you guys giving us feedback, hey, this is a really great, this is a really great tool. I think there's only 1 or 2 activities where we drive you to a particular tool, like Module 4, Mini-Ice, which is on data literacy, and it's a particular tool that we drive you to. But in terms of topically, it's very much open-ended. So where we've locked you into a particular tool, we've also been very free with the topic itself. So at least that was the intention. In terms of units, Bert, do you have you don't have the forms with you, do you? Okay, so at lunch, there are 3 continuing education credits offered through the University of Pacific in conjunction with this course. How many of you, just by show of hands, are interested in those credits? Okay, so we've got 2 and then, okay. So we will get that information to you. It's a short, brief form, and then we'll give you kind of those details later. So I already kind of went over the leading edge certifications, online and blended teacher, the administrator, and now the digital educator. So to jump a little bit more into the digital educator certification, it is based on the NETs. ISTE put out, this National Education Technology Standards. It is also based on the National Education Tech Plan and the Common Core State Standards. One of the real intentions and driving forces behind creating this curriculum was ensuring that it wasn't A, using technology for technology's sake, and B, making sure that everything that you create is actually really honestly usable. Unlike some people's teacher credentialing programs where you go through and you create a lot of stuff and you may or may not use that practically in your application, in your actual job life. We're hoping that some of the things that you create, and also because much of what you're doing during this course is teaching these particular lessons. So looking at teaching strategies and tech tools, again, addressing those 4 C's and critically, thinking critically and communicating, collaborating, creating, and effectively utilizing technology-rich learning opportunities. So the objectives are to share the instructional strategies, utilize the tech tools, develop, teach, reflect, and continue that process. Now, when again, what the program is not, it's not step-by-step technology tutorials. However, if there is a tech tool, now we do this a lot with online and blended teacher, if there is a tech tool that we suggest to you, and like I said before, say there's 3 or 4 different options, and you see one and you go on the website and you're like, oh, this looks like a really cool tool, like maybe Prezi, okay? You've seen it used, you just haven't had time to play around with it, you kind of start to jump in and you're like, I don't get it. It's very abstract. How do I manage, what's the user interface? I don't get it. Then shoot us an email, and what we can do is start to create some screencasts for you to walk you through some of those tools as needed. And again, it's not a Web 2.0 guide. College credit, we'll get to that at lunch. Okay, the online course expectations. The program syllabus itself is listed back in Canvas below this set of slides. The entire syllabus is there. I believe there is one module, Module 6, that currently needs to be updated on the syllabus. It is updated in the textbook on the Weebly site. We just need to transfer that information, which will happen today. So, and I'm going to explain to you what a typical weekly schedule is going to look like. So, you've got 4 sections to each module. And just for common academic vocabulary purposes, when I first started taking online and blended teacher, and I think this is more of a reflection upon my lack of intelligence than anything else, when people said, hey, this is, you're going to go through 8 modules, like in my brain, module didn't, I'm like, I'm going through a module. So I translated that in my mind to chapters. And I was like, oh, okay, English teacher. Like, I'm going to go through 8 chapters. And in each of the chapters, there are 4 sections. We're going to call them modules because we all grow and we all learn. And so I've embraced modules now. But that's, at least conceptually how I made sense of it. And in each of these modules, 4 sections. First section is always a discussion. And the expectation for the discussions is that you have an original, there's a discussion prompt that you, by Thursday, every Thursday, you have read the textbook of that, at least discussion portion of the textbook, and which is the Weebly site, and you've posted an original response to that discussion post. By Sunday, you will respond to at least 2 other of your classmates, okay? The due date is Sunday at midnight, Thursday at midnight, but just make sure you get your original post in there and 2 responses to other people. Those of you who've been in online and blended teacher or administrator, this structure will seem eerily familiar. The second section is there will be some sort of activity, and this will usually be utilizing a technology tool around that particular content of that section of the textbook. Then there's a portfolio assignment, which is a lesson plan. And the lesson plan, the expectation is that you are teaching the lesson, that you create the lesson, and I'll go through the details about this in a second, but you create the lesson, you develop it, you teach it, and then you also include a student sample. Okay, now I got a lot of frantic emails, and I'm sure Lainey did too before I started sending emails saying, but school ends in 3 weeks, but school ends in 2 weeks, but okay. When we were in teacher credential program and we had to create a student sample, what did we do? You created a student sample, right? You created what your expectation would be for your students if you were to actually implement this particular. So for some of you, if you've got, more weeks of school, this is going to be great because you can just, you don't have to create your own student samples. For those of you that, and it's one of the things that we've talked about in Digital Educator is, offering this course during the summer is going to, we need to make sure as the facilitators that we set the expectation that you're going to have to create your own student samples. But to have that vision of what your end product is a really good thing too. So, so that's, and those are due by Sunday. And we'll talk a little bit about how we're going to play around with the portfolio assignments and the lesson plans and how we're going to accommodate everybody's individual needs with, some people are in the classroom, some people are using other people's classrooms, and, we've got a plan B and a plan C and a plan D for those. So, and we'll go through that. And then the last piece of the of each module is a reflection. So section number 4 is a reflection, and the hope is that it is as authentic as you can make a reflection. I'll talk a little bit about that in a second.
Do you have you can share the due dates for the activities, for the assignments?
Yeah, we're going to do that when we do a Canvas overview. So, and then at the very end, after you have done these 8 modules, you put together an e-portfolio. And I will host an online, a Google Hangout that I'll record, but also a face-to-face time, sometime between now and June 29th, and we'll talk about the logistics of that in a bit, that will be open to you if you would like to come and get more step-by-step, how do you create your e-portfolio, and it's going to be housed on a Google site. So if you're comfortable with Google Sites, and essentially what the e-portfolio is your lesson plans that you've been creating all along, embedded in separate sub-pages of a Google site, and some information about you as an introduction, and that's it. You make it public, you share it, that's your final submission. It then gets reviewed by 3 educators. And then it gets the stamp of approval, and yay, you get an email from Lainey usually saying, congratulations! And that's pretty much it. So, to go specifically over each of the sections. For the discussion expectations, again, the initial postings will be by Thursday at 11:59 p.m. Now, for our first run at this, because we've got between now and June 29th, which is about 7 weeks, yet we have 8 modules. So what we've done is we've given you sort of a week and a few days to do both modules 1 and 2. But we're also spending quite a bit of time working on module 1 and helping you get sort of the workflow down in this initial kickoff session so that you work out some of those kinks. Hopefully, if you're like one of those people who you did all of your homework while you were in class and then you went home and you're like, I don't have any homework. That's what hopefully this will be for some of you, obviously with the exception of perhaps the portfolio assignment, which requires that you have a lesson with a student sample. But we're hoping that you will get through the discussion and the activity and maybe the reflection and get started on your portfolio by the end of today so that you can really focus in on Module 2 over the next week. Does that sound good? Okay. So make sure in the discussions, now the tips that we've put here in the presentation are based on past teaching experience. So take them to heart. Make sure that in the discussions that you address all of the questions thoroughly. Some discussion questions will have 1 part, some will have 3 or 4 parts. The way that we grade all assignments, discussions, activities, and reflections all are worth 1 point. The portfolio is worth 3 points. But essentially, it's either pass or not pass. And we will grade, according to the due dates, but that does not mean that you don't have time to go back and revise. So if there's something that's missing from any one of your assignments, we will write to you. You'll get the grade, which will, if you haven't answered all of the questions in the discussion, you may get the no pass, but we're going to include a comment absolutely and specifically and say, we're looking more for this or that, or, can you make sure that you expand a little more on this or add a little more detail here? Because the other thing that we're also looking for is exemplars. So since you're the pilot, we're going to look for exemplars from you guys. What are, this is an excellent discussion original post. This is an excellent response to somebody else's. So that in future iterations, we can share that with other people too. So those of you who are like hands and you're like, I'm going to be every exemplar, then there's a little challenge for you. So don't be discouraged if you get a no pass. As long as you pass, for certification, you have to pass every activity, or every assignment. So every discussion, every activity, every reflection, every portfolio assignment, and you have to submit your e-portfolio, okay? So as long as you've done that by, June 30th, then we're okay. So, and we will continually, every week, I've got time that's blocked out of my weeks, usually on Mondays and on Fridays, where I go through and I review everything, and then I also review things that have previously gotten no passes. Okay, so that's my workflow so that you guys know what the teacher workflow is. Make sure that you respond to 2 other students. Yeah?
Is the last week that we're talking about, I don't know what it starts with.
Okay, I'm unmuting it now.
I'm gonna repeat the
it's
question.
black and white.
Okay.
Does that week have a module in it?
Right.
My concern is some of us are going to ISTE, and I'm wondering, I want to make sure that I
also am going to
figure
ISTE.
how that's.
Welcome. So there is a module. It is not as robust as the other modules.
Okay.
So and if you need, I am, I can't believe I'm offering this. I am more than happy to, if anybody who is at ISTE needs to am I on track? Do I need, then
we'll hunt you down.
You can hunt me down. Absolutely, yes.
So I just want to clarify that if you get a no pass, then you can revise
Yes.
for a pass.
Yes.
That was what you were saying.
Yes, you can revise for a pass, and there is no limit on revisions. So, we want you to pass. We genuinely, we want to have more people who are certified. However, we are going to maintain what the expectations are for the program and maintain that equity, because sometimes we get students who come in and they say, well, I didn't like this activity, so I did it this way. And it's not just a different use of the tool, but it's totally different. We wanted you to create a presentation. Well, I created a Google Doc with a whole bunch of links on it. Okay, so I get that, but I'm not going to be able to use it as an exemplar, and it's kind of unfair. You guys know, it's unfair to all the other students who, went through creating a presentation if that just didn't float your boat. Talk to us, say, I don't understand, or help me understand why I need a digital presence. Help me understand why I need to engage in an online public sphere. And we'll talk about it. And you are, of course, encouraged to interact regularly as the conversation evolves in the discussions. I know discussions can be forced sometimes, especially in online spaces. And so hopefully that will, the more you interact, the more comfortable it becomes. So, and then we've got a discussion rubric. It's posted on our Canvas as well as in this website or in this presentation. So as long as you've responded to others and you have an original thought, you're good. The activity expectations. So again, these are the tips that we've learned from past experience. Make sure that any product you create is publicly viewable. Oftentimes, we will go in and at least 1 or 2 students with every activity has, it's an honest mistake. You forget to make it public. And so in some tools, the default is public, and some tools, the default is private. So make sure it's public. And anytime you can integrate the content curriculum with your activity explicitly, we're really happy. So what I mean by that is if the activity is to I keep going back to creating a presentation. I swear we have way more interesting activities than just create a presentation. But let's say the activity is to create a presentation that addresses digital literacy, okay? And you choose the audience, and you choose what the angle is, whether you're talking about digital footprint or copyright or what element of digital literacy are you addressing. If you can tell us somewhere in the presentation or make it explicit for us that your audience is parents, or your audience is site council, or your audience is staff meeting, that is helpful. We shouldn't have to squint. We shouldn't have to try to dig through to figure out, well, who's your audience here? Especially if we've said explicitly in the directions, tell us who your audience is. Okay, so keep those things in mind. Again, if you want to use a different tool, great. Just ask us, and and so in many cases when people have suggested other tools, it's one of those times when I go and I'm like, what's that tool? And I go and I find them like, cool, do it, go, because you guys are the ones who are living and breathing this on an ongoing basis. If you want to, make a checklist using the prompt to ensure that you've completed all the required steps. Again, your activity rubric, you guys know how to read. The portfolio assignment. So each portfolio assignment requires that you teach a lesson. It's going to take the most time relative to the other pieces, and should reflect that depth of thought. So, you know, while we want you to be thoughtful with your discussion and your reflection and all of those things, this is the crux of it. This is going to be your highlight. This is going to be the thing that goes in your e-portfolio. So if you need to prioritize, there it is. So lessons can be taught whenever works for your schedule within our 7.5-week time frame. But submission deadlines will proceed in the order indicated in Canvas. So what I mean by that is, if you go over the textbook, over the Weebly site, and you find that, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize this, next week I'm doing a lesson on digital citizenship. I already had it built into my curriculum. It was already something that I was going to do, but it's not due. I'm not supposed to be doing my digital citizenship lesson for another 3 weeks. Go read that page, see what you're supposed to do with the digital literacy or the digital citizenship lesson, and you can do it now. Because each of the lesson plans, you're filling out a template for each of the lesson plans. So you can write out that lesson ahead of time. If you're really you're like, this is the only weekend I have free at all for the remainder of the school year until June 30th. You're more than welcome to go home today and do all 8 or all 7 lesson plans. There's nothing stopping you from doing that, right? You're adults, you know how to manage your time. However, you need to make sure that A, you're submitting the right lesson plan at the right time. And if there is, for instance, sort of the flip of the example I just gave, if you're teaching a digital literacy lesson, but you're teaching it the very last week of school and your last week is, you know, mid-June, just let us know, you know, I got this on my schedule, but it's not going to happen until June. We're interested in you making this work as best as it's going to work for you, but you still got to get it done within the 7.5 weeks. Does that seem fair? And the other thing that a lot of people suggest or do is submit the lesson plan, but maybe you don't have the student sample yet. So in a situation where digital citizenship, but I'm teaching it, you know, in mid to late June, submit the lesson plan. This is my plan. This is what I'm going to do. I just don't have the student sample yet. You won't get a pass on it without the student sample, okay? So make sure that you go back. And part of the no pass is to remind you in your grade book, you're like, why did I get a 0 on this? I totally remember doing this. The student sample.
If the project is created in an app that creates EPUB files, is that going to work to submit something like that?
So the templates are, yes, the templates are in Google Docs, and there's a space for you to put either a link or repeat the question. So the question was, if there's a project being done and the student sample or the end result is an EPUB file, is that going to be acceptable or is that going to work? And my answer was yes. Because in the Google Doc, you can either add a link or you can add any sort of images. So if you just want to take snapshots or a PDF or...
It's going to lose the multimedia part. Is that okay?
That's okay. And if it's, you know, an EPUB that we can download and onto our iPads, then we're going to go onto our iPads and we're going to try to read it in the way that it's intended.
A straight link to it is fine.
It's fine, yeah. Absolutely.
It's best, actually.
So, and then submissions have to be via the lesson plan template, and you have to include a student sample. So there's 1, 2, 3, and that's how it is. Yes?
So I'm looking at the course modules here, and
Yeah.
there's only 2 that are unlocked.
Yes.
So you'll unlock them.
Yes. So the question was, looking at the course modules, only 2 of them are unlocked. Will the rest be unlocked? It should, yes. They are unlocked at Thursday, the week before. So this next Thursday, Module 3 will be unlocked, but Module 1 and 2 is due next Sunday.
So I think I'm confused then.
So I'm going to, when I go through Canvas, I'm going to explain all of that. Okay? Uh-huh. And then the reflection expectations. The hope is that there will be genuine thought and reflection. However, how many of you have ever been asked to reflect on something that you really have no reflection about at all? For me, my experience with reflections in general is that when I'm asked to reflect on something, I force something out and I go, well, it's almost a hypothetical reflection. It's like, well, I think this is how I feel about this. And it isn't until a month or 2 later that something happens and I go, oh, now I'm using what it was that I learned then. Here's my reflection, eureka. And so we understand that. Nevertheless, whenever I've been, with the amount of online classes that we do, I've had to learn how to sort of approach it more positively instead of, oh my God, I'm so sick of reflecting. Whenever I've been frustrated with forced reflection, I try to reframe it for myself and respond, but then also say, how would I do things differently, and include that as part of my reflection. And so that's an option, because the ultimate goal in any reflection is that you have genuine thought. And so if you're not creating any sort of genuine thought about it, ask your own questions that are going to be useful and purposeful about, that prompt, whatever it is. Okay, so, and then the reflection rubric is also embedded in the assignments. So again, you've got your syllabus, and we've got the course description, the learning outcomes. I am not going to read that to you in your free time, and when you're wanting to look at that, then by all means, go ahead and look at that. But everything that I covered just now is covered in the syllabus. I am now going to take you on a tour. We're going to go on a tour of Canvas. Is there anyone in here who's ever used Canvas before? Hey! Anyone online who's ever used it? Just give me a no or a no. No. I got a big thumbs down from Bert. Okay. So this is a learning management system. It's where you can house a whole bunch of different curriculum. And the first thing, I'm going to basically take you through the user interface. How do you communicate with other people on this? How do you find the information that you need? It's where we're going to go into the modules a little bit and talk about how do you find your grades, things like that. So along the top, you should see your name, and then inbox, settings, logout. You guys know what those are, but I want you to click on inbox. And when you click on inbox, this is your messaging system, if you will, okay? And there's a little pencil with a box. If you want to create a new message, you click on that. Yes? Yeah. There we go. So when you click on this particular little box with the pencil in it, I'm going to sit down so my head isn't in the way of anyone.
Liz, can you back up just a little bit? I couldn't hear you for a while, and I'm not sure how to get where you are.
Okay, so the way you get where I am is you click on inbox in the top of your canvas. Okay? And once you click on the inbox, then that will take you here. Look at Ramsey being a show-off. He's already writing messages. You've got a pencil and a box. You fly over it, say write new message. over on the right-hand side, you can either enter somebody's name explicitly, so I can enter Ramsey's name, and it just brings his name up. Or if I click on the directory, I can choose Pilot. And from here, I can click Everyone. I could also just choose the teachers, or I could just choose other students, okay? When you send an email, we would appreciate it, especially if it's to Ramsey or me, that you send it to all teachers. Because if you send it to all teachers, then whoever gets to it first is the one that you'll get a response from. Right. So in addition to that, what Bert just said, click on this is a group conversation. Participants will see everyone's replies if you are sending to the teachers themselves, okay? So at this point, we're gonna test drive this real quick. And what we'd like for you to do is send an email to everyone, which is going to fill up everyone's inboxes. And tell us what type of ice cream is. The directory on the right hand side, you click on that and you click on the LEC or the pilot.
It brings up another menu.
Choice to click on each person's name.
We have to do a separate thing.
There's one that says everyone.
Then you go to everyone under that.
And then there's
scroll down.
You have to go through and click each person.
Isn't there one? There should be a button that says everybody.
Yeah, but they're not getting a little.
So you have to
Okay,
click
you know what?
each person.
They have to click every single person.
for teachers.
Okay.
They should have.
It's
a test.
All
That
right,
was our
send
first
it to 4 or 5 people, and include Ramsey and me.
I'm gonna send it to everybody.
Yeah.
Can you send links in here? I'm gonna send everyone a video. Have you seen the video of the guy who goes off on his teacher? Oh, Jeff.
Yes.
You can touch their hearts.
Send it.
I will.
So the prompting question is, what is your favorite type of ice cream? And if you're like, I don't like ice cream, or I'm lactose intolerant, then tell us what dessert you like.
You want us to send it.
The online school.
Both of them. So 6 people.
I love it. I just feel like it's so easy. I don't know why. It's so much easier than.
Oh, mocha almond fudge, totally. Good one.
Packets. Nothing packets.
And Ramsey has entered a link to everyone. If anyone wants to watch that. Entertaining. And then, and then all you have to do when you get a reply is that over on the right-hand side. So I got an email here from Angela, as did like the rest of us. Then at that point, you have a message up at the beginning, and you can just say, "Yay! I love." Or you can reply, or you don't have to, but now everybody also sees that I love that. So that is your messaging system, if you will. I wonder.
You just send it to everyone, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yet,
Click on inbox again. It doesn't automatically.
doesn't auto refresh other. Interesting.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there it is.
Yeah.
And,
Reminder from Lady at some point to do the settings. She's getting a lot of notifications.
Oh, if I must do that. Okay. So, and every time, what will, the default setting, sorry, for this is that every message that is sent to you on Canvas will also be emailed to you.
Oh.
Sorry.
Type wisely.
So
You can filter that though.
just yes, you can filter that.
Elizabeth?
Yes?
This is Lainey. I know it seems annoying to get all those in your inbox, but I have it turned on, and I'm a huge Edmodo user. I'm in probably like 100 groups, and I still have all notifications turned on just because I don't ever want to miss anything, and it takes no time to delete anything that I didn't need. So that's just my personal preference. I like to have the notifications go to my email.
No, I agree. I have all mine go to my email as well, but and just because it then you're getting it as you don't have to wait until you sign into Canvas to see if there's a message there. But what you, like Ramsey was saying just a second ago, if you don't know how to set up filters in your email, talk to Ramsey or me. We will help you do that so that you don't, maybe they don't all directly go to your inbox, but they get filtered to a secondary folder so that you can at least see that they're there, but, it's not there. There, but it's not there. It's very ethereal that way.
Les?
Pardon?
I had a question, and somebody had posted also, Marilyn. Is everyone seeing their own post, or do they just see what came to them? Because I don't see what I posted, so I don't know that it went through, and Marilyn asked the same thing.
You see, if you send it to everyone, then you are included in that. If you do not send it to everyone and you just send it to one other person, then no, it doesn't show up in your list on the left-hand side.
I sent it to everyone. Did anyone get anything from Peggy Walker?
Yes.
Or did I not?
You can also go, if you click over on the left-hand side next to filter, go to sent, and you can see everything that you've sent.
Okay.
Okay. So, so we're going to go away from our inbox and go over to settings, which is next to the inbox along the top. It is from here that you have a couple different options. Up on the right-hand side, you are given the option to add email addresses that you can use to log into Canvas. The benefit of that is you can log in using multiple addresses. This is more from a teacher perspective. I added all of my email address when I first started using Canvas. I added my SCCOE as well as my Gmail address. But because I, as the teacher, which at some point, if you ever want to use Canvas, know this, I maintain a student account so that I can always see things through your guys' eyes as well. But it wouldn't let me, because I added my Gmail account to this. When I went to create my student account under Gmail, it didn't let me do that because my Gmail account was already linked with my teacher account. So just be aware that if you as a teacher using Canvas want to separate out so that you have two accounts going, only add email addresses that you're going to only use as a teacher here. One thing that I would like to strongly encourage everyone to do is add a profile picture, which next to your name it should say, add to upload, because this is the first and only time I am going to see you, or that Ramsey is going to see you, between now and the end of the course. And you may or may not come to the midway point check-in. And so, as we know, we are very visual people. Therefore, the more visual cues you can provide us, the more I'm going to be able to associate, oh, right, you're going to be working with teachers who are, you were wearing the awesome shirt that day, right? So if you could do that, if you don't have a profile picture on the web that you can easily pull right now, then do that, please, soon. Then you can also add other web services like Google Docs or Twitter or Skype or whatever you'd like to add. And it's basically edit settings. So that's how you work through that. Any questions about settings? Okay. To get back to the course at any point, my workflow, how I do it, is I go up to courses and I click on the course. And that always takes me back to our home page. From here, where I spend most of my time and where you will probably spend most of your time is in the Modules tab on the left-hand side. Before we jump into that, I'm going to show you something that's important, but we're going to spend basically the rest of the day in modules, and so I want to show you one other thing before we go to modules, which is announcements. It's under the Home tab. Right there you will see two announcements, one from me, one from Ramsey, and this is where we will post on a weekly basis. Here's how week 1 went, here's what we're looking at going into week 2. Sometimes it's a brief blurb. I usually post them on Mondays or Tuesdays after I've graded everything and sort of gotten a feel for how did you feel about that particular module. And it's my way to sort of keep in the flow of the culture of the class and how you're feeling about the content, as well as I will post any feedback forms that I want you guys to fill out in the announcements page. All of the announcements will go to your email as well, so you'll get those sent to you that way, and you can reply to different announcements as well. So when you click on an announcement, right below it will have the word reply. You click on reply and it gives you the whole text box editor, and you can say whatever you want, and well, almost whatever you want. Click on cancel. Yeah.
I don't know if this is an appropriate question for right now, but I'm just wondering why you chose Canvas for this class.
So we've used a lot of different types. We've used Moodle, we've used Schoology. Aside from Bert told me to. I mean, that's you want the honest answer. Like Bert said, hey, let's try using Canvas, and I said, okay.
So, Elizabeth, do you mind if I jump in for just a minute?
Go for it.
So, one of the things that's really important to the Alliance for Leading Edge Certification is that we're actually tool agnostic, and so while we have to choose a tool to use as the learning management system for offering this course, in this particular instance we're using Canvas, but providers of future offerings will get to choose their LMS. So some might choose to use Canvas, some might use Haiku, some might use Edmodo. Really, we're trying to be very, very flexible with that. So in this particular instance, we're using Canvas, but that's not always the case. So not to add more complexity to it, but just wanted to clarify that it's not Leading Edge will always use Canvas.
Right.
Just to answer why I requested to use one of the things I'm always looking for with a learning management system is applicability to the people who are taking the course, and Canvas is a free, open source learning management system. So you as teachers, if you like what you see, this is something that you could turn around and apply without cost.
That was exactly. I just wanted to hear your rationale because
We can't hear what you're saying.
Okay, I will repeat it at an appropriate breaking point. I promise.
That was, I just
Okay.
wanted to hear the rationale, because,
Right.
you know, I'm here to learn to figure out what I want to use, so.
Mm-hmm. So the response was, the question was why we chose Canvas, and then I said because Bert told me to, and then Lainey gave a really good response, and then Bert gave a follow-up response that in his choosing of LMSs and looking at LMSs, he tries to use ones that are going to be applicable for the audience that we are presenting the information to. And in this case, Canvas is an open source LMS, and it is free, free of charge. And so teachers could use this. You could use this if you chose to. And so that's the rationale. And then everyone nodded their heads and went, "Oh, good." And then Bert was awarded with applause and happiness and a crown, in fact, even. Right?
Yes.
Perfect.
And I'll message everyone with how to get a free Canvas.
And Bert will message everyone with how to get a free Canvas account. Okay, so so that's going back to announcements. That's what announcements is. It is pretty much what it says it is. It's announcements. When you are looking for your grades, you will be able to find those where it says grades. And the rest of it is fairly self-explanatory. So when you click on modules, in each of these modules, as I mentioned before, or was asked and I clarified, the modules will be unlocked on Thursdays, and it should have a grayed out at the bottom of each module. It should say the date and time when each of the modules will be unlocked. However, if you're super savvy, which all of you clearly are, and you click on textbook for any of the modules, it will take you to the Weebly site, which is embedded in the Canvas site, okay? But if you want to view the Weebly site, and I'm using textbook and Weebly site interchangeably because they are one and the same, then you can click on the little arrow next to, or actually click on the title, and in a new tab, it will open up the Weebly site unto itself. And from there, each of the modules are open. So you can read all of the content, you can see what the expectations are. The rationale for having each of the elements or each of the sections specifically in Canvas itself is that consider those your Dropbox spaces, okay? That's where you are going to submit your response for the discussion, for the activity, portfolio, and reflection. So you can, depending on your comfort level, however you want to do it, you either open up the textbook directly in the module itself and you read it and you go, wow, this is amazing. Ramsey's like a genius. Unless it's really bad and then you go, man, Elizabeth, she's lame. And you go through and each of the, you will see, we've tried to make it really, really streamlined. So each module has discussion, activity, portfolio, reflection, and you click on each one. And the thing that you need to be aware of in terms of the workability, I'll go over to the Weebly site itself. This is how my mind works, having it open in a separate tab, but whatever works for you, is that you do have to fly over each of the titles to get the drop downs. And so when you get to the bottom of the introduction, you do have to fly back up and then go to discussion and then go all the way to the bottom. And here's where you will see what the discussion question is. If there is a difference, which there might be, we've tried to clean this up as much as possible and we're constantly rechecking. If there is a difference between what is on the Weebly site and what is, let me get here, what is listed here in the discussion, because what we've done for each of these sections is we've copied and pasted what's here and dumped it into here, okay? So that you can work directly off of that. If there's a difference, which there shouldn't be much of, but if there is, go with the Weebly site. Whatever the Weebly site says trumps, and most of the time, if there's a difference, it's going to be like a word or two. It's not going to be really deep content difference. So from here, Ramsey has already responded in the first discussion to kind of kick off the thoughts, and you can do one of two things. If you want to respond to the discussion with your original post, then right under where it says discussion, you click reply. And that's where you post your original thought, your original response to. I'm the kind of person, I don't like to read anybody else's before I do mine, because I always feel like I'm not going to respond. Yeah, I know, totally. I'm not going to respond as authentically to other people. And my own thoughts aren't going to, like, they're not going to be my own. I don't know. I'm really conflicted about the whole thing. Anyway, so original thoughts, you click on reply directly to the discussion. If you want to reply to Ramsey in his, you click on reply, and it's embedded right in there, and it shows threaded. Now, do not. Don't give short shrift to the people who choose not to respond until, 3-4 days from now, because if you've ever participated in a discussion prompt, the first people that get out there are the people who get responded to. And then you've responded 11th hour or 10th hour, and then nobody responds back. You're like, oh, I said something. I swear I said something. So remember to scroll to the bottom, see what other people have said, Plus, those are the people, oftentimes that, it hasn't been talked about ad nauseum too. Oh, that's a great point. Yeah, I agree. That's a really great point. You know what? I was thinking about it, and I thought it wasn't a good point, but now I know it's a really good point. So try to add something to the conversation. And you can literally just click through, so that if you're ready to do the activity, at the bottom of the page, you can click on next activity. Now this may just be my account, maybe yours. I always find that it takes a little longer to click through than just going back to modules, see, and clicking on the next item. So for the activity, I would then come back to the Weebly site, go to introduction, go down to activity, read what I need to read, watch what I need to watch, click on activity, and eventually it loads, and here's where we just fill airspace. Are there any questions so far? Which is always a good space filler if there are questions. But again, I mean, this is all it's going to be is a replication of this. Now, this is actually, this is where we're going to change the, Ramsey, if you want to grab everything that's here and throw that into the Weebly site, that'd be great. Okay. Peggy may have a question. Get excited, people. We have an online person who may have a question.
Nope.
Oh, okay. So the discussion, I'm not going to sort of go over that because that's pretty self-explanatory. You know how to make your original. You know how to do your replies. The activity, read through the content first. The activity for Module 1 is about developing a digital presence. And the default activity for this is to create a Voki. However, if you so choose, if you have a current digital presence, I don't know, like a Twitter account, or a website, or I have a site that I use through about.me. So, and it's a free website, and it's a one-shot, real quick, and I'm not advocating You pick a picture that they have a whole bunch of. You have your face and then a brief overview of what you do and who you are. And then you can link it to your Blogger, your Twitter, your LinkedIn, your YouTube, everything, your website, whatever else you have in terms of your digital presence. So this is when I used to be able to create my own business cards. On the back of my business card, I had a QR code that linked to this site. And now I don't have to maintain 500 websites or 500 accounts. I maintain my About Me and make sure that that's always updated. And then if people need to contact me, they can email me, they can Twitter, they can, you know, whatever's going to work for them. But it's exactly, it's one-stop shop. So this is, I think, a good example of a clear, systemized digital presence. If you're more comfortable with Voki, go that route. If you have a professional website that you use for either PD, it should be beyond your school website, okay? It needs to be something that is about you, that you can take with you regardless of where you are. So if you have a school or a class website that is linked up with your, like if you're using School Loop and it's locked into that system, you're probably going to want to consider doing something else. The goal of this is to highlight your ability. If somebody Googles you, what's going to come up? Do you want to be in charge of that, or do you want somebody else to be in charge of that? That's ultimately the upshot. And so I am of the opinion I'd rather have me be in charge of that. So I'm going to inundate the digital world with things that I own, I control, and I manage. That way, when somebody Googles me, it's what I've chosen. Yeah.
Can you go over Google's site and personal class website, those questions?
Yes. So personal, well, if you've got a class website that you use, that's fine to use as long as it's something that you can take with you. If it's a Google site, even if it's linked up with a Google Apps for Education account, you could copy that easily and take that with you if you need to. So that's fine. That's acceptable. But if you've got what would not be as acceptable is if you have a website that says, "Hi, I'm Mr. So-and-so, and this is my class website. Here's my calendar." Okay, if that's all that's there, we need to beef up your digital presence a little bit. Okay, so let's try to make some efforts to that end. It's really, as always, much more about the content of what it is rather than the tool itself. Somebody could take an About Me site and it could just be blank. I mean, it could be a fairly dull page. It's about what's in it, and you're going to get more information about that when you read the content of the curriculum that leads you into creating a digital presence. In the back, and then.
So my name's Allison Smith.
Yeah.
There's no way anyone's going to be able to Google me like pretty much ever, unless, I mean, I do have a Google website for my class, but as far as creating a bigger digital presence, I don't see, I've been told like you just have a ton of people link to your website or things like that, but.
Right. So that's, so the question was, we have Miss Allison Smith, who says her name is Allison Smith, and pretty much nobody's ever going to be able to Google her. And so how, you know, the intent of this is not to make a digital presence that comes up as #1 on the Google search results. I use that as sort of an example. It's to, I mean, I kind of want to say, read the content of the curriculum first, and then let me come back and answer that if there are still questions, because I certainly understand that issue. There's, you know, like 2 or 3 Elizabeth Calhouns out there. But the intention of this activity, you know, is to create something that that's going to increase your digital presence as an instructor, as a teacher, because this is what our student, I mean, ultimately it goes back to our students. And our students are creating their digital presences, and they may or may not know that. And so we need to kind of get in there, whether it's, you know, on the first 10 pages of Google or not, kind of irrelevant, except that if somebody looks for Allison Smith, teacher at whatever school that you're at, they do find something that's positive that you've created.
And you may have to repeat this, the idea really is to have an example to show your students, to ask, well, what does a digital presence look like?
Right.
Demonstrate something, or later on, if you start to get involved in professional learning communities, social media, that type of thing, you have something to link to in your profile.
So Bert's saying that it's also so that you have something to provide to your students as an example of what a digital presence is, that comes from you and is more authentic than, well, here's an example of somebody else. And then also, if you ever, or if you already are involved in professional learning networks and more professional development, then you have something to link to so that people kind of know who you are. Yeah.
So it says you can also update, so we still have to do
In
the
lieu.
key.
In lieu.
Oh, so if because I have an About Me page that I set up after Q, and it's kind of bare bones, but I could beef it up and make it better, and then not have to
Do the
record
vocab.
myself.
Yes. Do that, absolutely. Beef up your About Me page if that's what you want to do. Remember, the goal of these four sections is that the bulk of your time and thought, and we as kind of ed techie people, okay, so the question was the About Me, Harmony has an About Me page that she set up after Q, and she wanted to know, can she just beef that up? Because the wording itself says you can also update. It doesn't mean that you have to do both. You can choose in lieu of. So we will change the wording on that. But the alternative is to create this digital presence, beef up your About Me page. I was saying that's perfectly fine. And then you're good. I mean, if that's what you want to do, or if you want to take a sample of a way that you've participated, you know, thinking about Twitter, like if you're active on Twitter and, you know, try getting active in a different Twitter chat than you've ever been active in before, and then take a screenshot of that, and there you've beefed up your digital presence. And so there's sort of a lot of different, so if you've got an idea about, well, could I do this or could I do that? Let us know, and probably we'll say yes. So at this point,
Question.
yes, sir.
Can you go over where they submit this link?
Right. So I'm not in student mode, but on the right-hand side, you should have a link in each of these. So discussion is, you know, embedded within. It's, you know, reply. For activity, as well as portfolio and reflection, on the right-hand side where I have edit assignment, you should have something like submit assignment. When you click on that, it gives you a couple different options. You should be able to attach a file, you can embed a URL, or you can write directly within a text box. So choose your method, and for most of the activities, you will be submitting a URL because, you know, like with this one, it's Voki, or it's about.me, or, you know, here it is. You don't have to add any sort of introduction to it or anything. That's your Dropbox. Any questions about that? Can everyone see where that is?
We're doing this with them, right? So do I need to make a student account to be able to submit mine?
Yeah. Okay. So those are, so this is where we're going to give you a little bit of work time. Are there any questions before we move on about what's expected for the discussion or the activity? Okay, so those of you online as well as here, we're going to spend from now until noonish until lunch shows up, working on the discussion and activity. So the expectation is you're going to read through the curriculum for Module 1. You're going to read at least through the introduction, discussion, and activity. And in Canvas, you'll reply in the discussion, post your original thought. If you can reply to 2 other people during this time period, great. And or work on the activity. If you want to work on the activity first, go back to the discussion later, totally up to you. But it's work time. All right? Thank you. Through this door, and then I'll show you. A different
Yeah.
Okay, so I have to add you.
So I can't submit from the teacher.
No, I know. That's one of the. Okay, so I'm going to bring all of us back together for a moment, for a little bit, to talk a little bit about the portfolio assignment and what you need to do in regards to the template as well as expectations for the portfolio assignment. And then hopefully give you a little bit more time to work on one of those 3 things. So either if you still need to do work on the discussion or the activity, or then start delving into the portfolio itself. So far, are we okay? Are there any questions, any hiccups? Yeah.
I was doing the discussion reply, and I noticed in Ramsey's reply that he didn't specifically name the net standard. Are you looking for us to specifically?
The question is, are we looking specifically for the net standards that Ramsey hadn't explicitly identified which net standard in his discussion post? Don't use Ramsey as the example. No, just kidding. Right. So it does say Tim's or the net standards. It used to. So yes, please be explicit in that. And the other thing is, in the Weebly site itself, it does say take this NETS self-assessment that your facilitator will provide. I had neglected to insert that link into the discussion post. It is now inserted into the discussion post. So to take that, what is that? To take that particular self-assessment, click on discussion in Canvas, and you will see a second line here in parentheses. If you're looking for the self-assessment referenced, you can find it here. You click on that. It'll take you to a Google form. You fill it out. It's, a rating 1 to 5 on each of the different elements, and you can take that. So any other questions or hiccups or anything? Clarifications, points of clarification.
Sorry, can you just say that again? How do we take that?
You click on the discussion in Canvas, and then once you do that, this second line under the prompt itself says you can find it here in all caps. You click on here, and then it'll take you to the form. So in the portfolio assignment itself, for each of the modules, what you are going to be doing is actually creating or using rather a Google Docs template. So you can choose to organize this however you'd like, but for each of the portfolios, again, with the other items, you read the content, you go to the bottom, and somewhere in there, there will be something that says, click here to access the lesson planning template. The template is the same for all 8 modules, okay? So you click on that, and you will see that there is a lesson plan template by Ramsey. You need to make sure that you are first logged into your Google account. So whether you're using your personal account or your Google Apps for Ed account, you need to make sure that you're logged in, because when you click on use this template, you will now have your own copy of that template. Is there anyone who has not used Google Docs before? Anyone online who has not used Google Docs before? Okay. So I'm going to go very quickly, but remember we've got, we're saving this whole screencast. So if you need a refresher on how to use Google Docs templates, notice that it is approximately 1:07, and so if you need to refer to this screencast later, you can do that. The first thing that you need to do, as all established Google Docs users know, is change the title so that you title it something that is useful for you. My suggestion for you would be to simply change the copy of to your name and tack on you'd like. And instead of template, I'm sorry, whatever module you're going to have it be. So that way you've got it. And once I click OK, then that is my LEC lesson plan module 1. From there, you can go to File, Make a Copy, and just rename Module 2, Module 3, Module 4, Module 5, and then you've got all of your templates ready to go. So that's one approach. The other approach is to go through it module by module, pull up the template each time, name it accordingly as you need to. Okay? So those are sort of the whatever works better for you. We're going to go through this template, and then I'm going to show you an example of a template or of a completed template. I'm going to go through this and also tell you what sort of is the mandatory stuff you have to fill out and the stuff that obviously is dependent upon the lesson that you're teaching. So you have to fill out the title. The topic would be basically the content area, or more specifically, what do you want to explain the template, or do you want?
Why don't you keep going?
Okay, and then you'll jump in.
Because you've seen it done before. I mean, I built it with an image in mind, but I
Sure.
haven't seen a completed one.
What people
so,
are okay. So the topic is going to be more like whatever the lesson, however you would name your lesson, that's what the topic is going to be. The grade level, self-explanatory. Subject, self-explanatory. Established goals. Now this is where you would put in the Common Core state standards. However, there are some states, Texas, that have chosen not to adopt Common Core, but because this is a national program, we want to make sure that it addresses everybody's needs. And so, but since if you are in California, use the Common Core state standards. That's sort of part of the point behind this, is that you're creating these lesson plans that are aligned in that way. The essential questions. So these are the guiding questions, or the essential questions that drive that entire lesson. There is no minimum on this. And same with the Common Core state standards. There's no minimum. If there's one Common Core state standard or one essential question that is really driving this entire lesson and it's very focused in that way, that's fine. Okay? There's no, oh, you've got to have, at least 3 to 5 whatevers. Understandings. Students will understand that by the end of this lesson, what are the students going to understand? What will they know? and what will they be able to do, reflect upon, create. That's where your real active verbs come in more.
So it's kind of like Bloom's taxonomy broken out in base.
Mm-hmm.
Can you define more the difference between what students will understand versus no?
The question was, will you clarify the difference between what students will understand and what students will know?
I think in my mind, when I operationalize that, it's really hard to, measure what they understand. Whereas, like, we know kind of that lower Bloom's, like we know the basic facts, definitions, key terms, blah blah blah, that they need to know, versus their understanding of it is something we might need to. I don't know. Yeah, like.
You need to speak up or come over to the mic.
Maybe we could pull up an example of it, and that might be a little bit easier. Do you have one available?
I can try.
And I'm just having a hard time articulating right now.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we go through, and come back to it, and then so we'll go through the rest of the template, and then we'll come back to that clarification. Yes.
There's a question from the online about private schools.
Use whatever standards are currently adopted, or whatever measures your students are being. So even if it's something like your ESLERs, like your expected school-wide learning results, if that's what you're using as the primary guiders of instruction, then use that.
And if you scroll up right
clarify, here. So clarify there where Ramsey's highlighting, indicate and link what standards you are referencing. So if they are, in fact, ESLERs from your school, then you should probably have that information online somewhere, hopefully on your school website, that says this is what we expect our students will learn and understand. For the nets for students, again, it is not mandatory, it's not necessary that every lesson address every single net standards. That's moderately unrealistic. And so all you have to do is reference the number in the letter for each of these. And don't try to squint. Don't try to make something fit. We're very kind of innately creative people. We work with technology. We see things outside of the box, and we go, well, it could be everything. It could be creativity. It's digital citizenship. It's research. It's communication. It's critical thinking. It's everything. What are the primary net standards that are really being implemented or used here? And those are for students, and then for teachers, similarly. Assessment evidence. You may not have something for every single one of these boxes. That's okay. But what are the performance tasks? So what are the things that are going to be created or done? What are the things that are going to be assessed from the students? And how are the students going to self-assess? Because any part of any pedagogically sound lesson has some element of the students having an opportunity to, get into the metacognition and think about how they're thinking, think about how they're doing what they're doing. And so what is that going to look like? The other evidence, if it's there, great. If it's not, don't worry about it. Okay. The learning plan. This is sort of you want to think about it old school, not old school, but just like, this is your list. Like, what do you do, then what, then what, then what, then what? What's your plan? So what's your inquiry hook? Sometimes we call it a sponge. Sometimes we call it, like, what are the other words? Like your into activity. Whatever it is that gets students excited and interested in the content that you're about to jump into or they're about to jump into. And then the activity procedure. You can do this in one of two ways. You can either bullet point it. You can, write it as a narrative, although when we're talking procedural things, it tends to make more sense to list it more procedurally. And then reflection methods, that's sort of that's your wrap up. That's how are you pulling this together? basically. And then materials. So facilities is what kind of space do you need to be in for this? So is this an activity? When I was teaching high school English, we used to do a sensory poem, and my facilities was outside. Okay, we just had to go outside. That was the only requirement. We were out of our classroom. So what is the actual physical environment that you need to be in to make this as viable or as successful as possible? What kind of non-tech equipment do you need? What kind of tech equipment do you need? And then here is where you either insert the link or the image of the student samples below. And because it's a Google Doc, that's why you can submit your lesson plan and not have your student sample in there yet. And then I come back later and you say, okay, I've submitted my student sample. We come back later, we check it, and you're good to go. Okay? Couple things about both your lesson plan as well as your student sample. Your lesson plan, you need to make sure that you share it and that you change it from private to public or anyone with the link. And that's the link that you're going to submit to us because we need to be able to see it to grade it.
And that's what's going to go in the portfolio.
And that's what's also going to go in your portfolio, which ultimately needs to be public as well. The student sample, that's the other thing. If your students are creating something digitally, like a Google Doc or a presentation, please make sure that theirs are also public, because what we've been running into a little, we had sort of a pre-pilot, an alpha group that has been going through this, so we've been learning lots from them as well. But what I'm getting some of, not a ton, but student samples are getting placed in, but the student samples, like the way their Google Apps domain is set up, is such that students can't share outside their domain. So I then try to access the student sample and I can't because of that. And so think about those, elements, those issues as you go through as well. How are we doing? Are we doing okay online so far, Bert? Okay, yes.
So if it is a closed network, like we have at our school, and you can't share outside of it, then I would just give you an image instead?
So the question is, if the network is, if it is a closed domain, she asked if she would just give me an image instead. You can do that, or are you talking about specifically Google Apps?
Yeah.
Okay, so if your student's domain is closed, sometimes the teacher's is still open. Can you share with somebody outside the network?
Not docs, no.
Okay, so I would download it as a Word file, and then either, you could...
You could also try printing to PDF.
Pardon? Right. You can print it to a PDF. You can, we'd prefer a link, but if you can just do an image, then that's fine as well.
I could download it and put it into my own Google
Yes.
account, and then I can
Yes.
go from there.
Yeah. I mean, you can, I just didn't want to because some people are like, oh, I have to have another Google account, but some people already have that. So yeah, if you already have it, that's what I would do. I would just, that's what I do with a lot of my stuff. I download it from my work domain and upload it or I just share it with my personal account and do whatever I need to do with it there. Yeah.
So when we upload this onto Canvas, we can only see our own work, or we can see everyone in the class?
So the question is, can we see everybody else's work in the class when we upload it to Canvas? No, you can only see your own work. So the discussions, obviously, those are freeform, but the activities and the portfolios and the reflections are all just you can see it and I can see it, and Ramsey and Bert and Lainey. But yeah. Any other questions? So pardon? I'm gonna go back and find a sample. So I'm gonna pull up, and I'm totally doing this randomly, so there's anybody's guess what kind of lesson plan we're going to get here. Actually, if it loads eventually.
I got most of that link between buckets.
Yeah, I don't know. Bert, do you have knowledge versus understanding? Knowing something versus understanding something. Why did I just do that?
Understanding is inherently the ability to use it. Knowledge is the infrastructure that kind of allows you to.
So Ramsey's saying that something really smart.
I mean, how do you, like, what's the point of breaking both of those out if we have being able to do and we have knowledge?
Right.
It seems like it's almost overkill. Like, I wouldn't want people to be
trying to shove something in there that isn't.
Yeah. So I think we need to fit. I need to see an example so we can see what people did.
So let's look at his. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
That's back up.
Yeah.
Okay, so he has students will understand that diseases are caused by microorganisms. Students will know that the microorganisms that cause diseases are viruses, bacteria, protists, fungi, and animals. Students will be able to, and that's pretty clear.
It seems like the understanding is that, like, if you look at the old, like the old California standards or something like that, it's the pre-unpackaged standard, sort of like in general, yeah.
Right.
You know,
so like main idea, detail.
Concept.
Yeah. Main idea and detail. So
yeah.
Okay, Bert is frantic in the background. He needs you to speak up and talk into the microphone.
Sorry, Bert. Yeah, I think that this is really the piece, the accessible piece, right? Where
that students will be able
objective.
to is the accessible piece.
And the no. And this is the general overarching standard.
Students will understand is the general overarching standard. So if you think of it more like the California state standards, will understand that is feels like the end goal, main idea, standard.
Like if you look, if there's anybody, like if you look at the new college board, if there's any advanced placement teachers, they just rewrote all of them and they have the learning objectives underneath, and then up above it's kind of like what the teacher will teach. So I'm going to teach all the things associated with this right here, and then here are the things that they're going to do to show me that they know that.
So, but I think that the end result in all of this is that if you're feeling like you're trying to shove something into understand or know, and logically it just makes sense for you to say students will know that, then just go with that. You will not get marked down if you only have understand or only the no box filled out. Okay? Right?
Yeah. And now that I kind of wish that this was sort of up here and then these both fell underneath it, because I think one is the knowledge that we're going to part on them and the other is what they're going to show us. But I mean, I'm just being a teacher right now thinking.
Oh, darn you.
Thinking about instructional design.
Right. So I don't know if that is helpful.
Don't get caught up in it.
But don't don't get caught in that, because that will end up being a vicious quagmire.
As the people grading you, telling you don't get caught up in it.
Right.
Trust us.
Yeah, exactly. Clearly, who's going to mark you down? Yeah.
I have another kind of side note. If I'm in discussions and I've
if she's in discussions.
I'm in discussions and I'm writing a response. If I don't actually hit post response and leave that page, is it kind of like a Google Doc that it's automatically saving, or I'll lose it?
No, it will. You will lose it. And so I have yet to leave it open long enough for it to time me out. So I have not. I've never been kicked off of it. But if you are concerned about, you've started a discussion response and you're not done with it, I would copy and paste it into a text file, into a Google Doc, and save it there.
So even if I'm in Canvas and I leave to go back to,
part of something? Or
It'll go away.
It will go away.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So just that's why, use open new tab for everything if you need to go to another site or anything. Are there any questions first from the real audience about portfolios? You're creating a template. Pardon? I said from the real audience, like the real life people I see, I could touch right now if it wasn't weird. How about, yes, you are live and you are real. I just can't actually like physically, I could touch your pictures, which is equally as odd. No questions from the
Liz, I have a question.
Yes.
Does our portfolio end up as like the one that we did for Blended, where it's actually Google site and we build it out like that?
Yes, there's a slightly different template, but so yes, it's very much like that. If you've taken the administrator or the online and blended teacher, very, very, very similar.
And do we have access to that, or do we just build it ourselves?
No, so this is what. Let me finish. Don't build your template yet. Don't build your portfolio yet. Even if you've taken online and blended teacher or administrator yet, no, it's not available yet. Yes, it will be available at the midway point when we, have that particular meeting. We'll make that template available to you, and you'll be able to start building it from there. Okay? Cute, Bert. Bert says he hears Google is working on a way to turn you into a real audience. Okay. Now I'm having to translate from the virtual to the physical. How about that? Okay. So with that, we're going to give you about 15 minutes, and then at 1:40, we're going to come back together. We're going to talk about that midway meeting that I just mentioned, and what would be covered in that meeting. Get any last minute questions, and then send you on your ways to enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Okay, so 15 minutes at 1:40, we'll come back together. Thank you.
I posted my discussion, but do I need to go back and edit and say this correlates to these standards?
For your discussion post, let's see.
Yeah, I'm like you too. I already felt that I feel like I hit, but I didn't say I use standards.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I know someone asked, but then I was like,
do we like embedded the words, but not necessarily like a research paper where we would like annotate.
I believe that you can go in there and edit your post, but yeah, yes,
just at the end
to be this.
I'll have to go back.
Yeah, for the discussions, if it is sort of a clue, if you ever see anything that asks about particular standards, the NETs or Common Core, chances are those are going to be keywords that we're looking for as graders to go through, and I'm going to be looking for, obviously I'm going to read the content, but I'm also spot checking for the, were you explicit about the standards about, that particular piece?
Do you want then the actual title of
either way,
actually the sub?
Either way, as long as there's an acknowledgement that yes, that was part of the discussion prompt, I get it, and here's
Where does this get I remember you said it earlier. I think we yanked it out because we
think it was, you know, I think it was in
Okay.
and then so when I copied this over, so I was still thinking
Okay.
that course.
We're good?
We're good.
Just about all of us have a digital boss.
I've seen it and worked with it, but not
It's
like,
just like a dashboard, Google activity.
yeah, but it's really cool.
Well, I had no clue. It's like, I'm all over the place.
Like dogs
Takes you to
Sound like what thinking one of my kids' hands is. Yeah, absolutely.
In terms of responses in arbitrary discussions, is there an expectation as to?
There's no
depth
word
or
depth for a college educated
right, but
teacher.
I mean, in terms of, and like, I mean, just my thoughts.
Yes. I know, I'm not startling. Lainey. Okay. Lainey's it.
But then she unmuted herself. It's crazy.
What's going on with that
What's going on? I know.
Where do you find that self-assessment now?
If you go into the discussion in Canvas,
The very top level of the function, or the discussion board.
Back here on what's there now?
It's Thursday at midnight.
Ah.
the original post.
The original. So we do sometimes Saturday, Sunday-ish.
But I heard her say something.
Yeah.
Just
So back to the page that actually referred to
After
it.
we do the self-assessment, are we supposed to get an email about it, or is this more for you?
That's for us.
Okay.
All right, so get to some sort of stopping point in whatever you're writing or doing. Hey, Ramsey, on the 1C, there's a typo.
What's that?
If I click gig.
Okay, I'll change it right now.
Yes.